So anyway, why don't we get started? You guys, sorry, I was kind of like, I had a problem with Zoom here, but anyway, it's running now. So uh, anyway, so I wanted to so anyway, Thursday, Mike Hoffman can't make it because he's got like a medical thing. And some other guy from the power plant's gonna come. I'm gonna talk to him at 3. So if he, I'll see how that goes, Like I'm not sure. Hoffman has like a long history. I mean, he ran like Zimmer and things. So this other guy, I don't know. So we'll have to see how that goes. Um, anyway, there's plenty of stuff to go through. I think there's some other people coming like next week or in a couple of weeks or something or other. But anyway, I wanted to go through some of the slides, the stuff that's in here. The homework, it's like some people like smoke through it, and then some people are having a problem with it used to be like if they gave you guys math, like in this class, if they gave you math problems, and it was like aced, everyone aced it. Then like, but now, and if I gave you essay questions, sinking ship. Even the simplest thing like, do you like this thing or something? People would be like, oh, I can't do that. Like, oh no, not an essay question. So, but now things have changed. So it seems like some of you still like hot on math. So like some of the homeworks are like smoking through that, and others seem to be struggling like to do like kind of, maybe it's difficult, I don't know, whatever. But so anyway, I wouldn't worry about it. Like probably everyone's gonna get an A in here, basically. So it's just like to compare, so like I worked really hard on that thing, I got 110 on it or something, and someone else got 50. But don't worry about the grade, but maybe it should be assigned to say like brush up on it or whatever. Maybe the job market, there's a lot of chemical engineering jobs where you don't need all that math. There's plenty of jobs managing this and that. So it depends what you want to do in a lot of ways. But basically it's kind of surprising to see people kind of struggling with that kind of math problem. Because Max, those were Max's questions. Like he's chemical engineer from England. So it's like you can kind of compare. But even in England, there was people that struggled with that kind of thing. So it isn't like it's US versus England. I think it's more like generational. Like I think maybe both education systems are failing in some areas, or else the people change too. So who knows? But anyway, don't worry about the grades on it. But anyway, I'll grade them, and you can kind of take it for whatever. So anyway, so there's a lot of stuff. So I went through like whole things, but then so I wanted to go through other kinds of solar other than photovoltaic. Oh, also like I'm talking with these people in Nigeria, like yesterday, this woman that's a physician there for this, they have like a cancer hospital in the Niger Delta, kind of near Port Harcourt, like north of that. And then like the power goes out all the time, so they want to put in solar panels to power. And right, so they hit like in Ethiopia, there's like for physical, like I had a friend of mine got brain cancer there, and to get the brain cancer treated, he went to Thailand because they have like tourist medical treatment in like India, Thailand. There's a couple other places, Mexico. So if you need operations cheap, like you go to one of those countries and they have like pretty much Western style. Anyway, so he had half his brain taken out. Basically, he came back to Ethiopia. He was president of the university, and he's like, he had trouble, getting around. So he needed physical therapy. And the whole 110 million or 120 million, there's one place to get physical therapy in the whole country. Like there's one office. And also one time we took people that were studying like psychiatry or psychology at UC. So we went to visit the mental hospital. In the whole 120 million people, is one mental hospital in the whole country, Ethiopia. We went to that place, it's pretty crazy. I mean, not no pun, but basically like there's just the one place. And then you see people anyway. So there is like no medical treatment at all, like nothing, basically. Like if you get sick there, you hope that you can live the flight back to Europe, because there's not going to be any treatment. So, but in Nigeria, they have like she's talking about having a particle accelerator for cancer treatment, and a LINAC machine, and they have an MRI, and they're putting in a PET scan. So for a cancer hospital, it's the largest one in Nigeria, and it's a small place, I can show you the picture, but basically like, it's like night and day, I can't, like in Ethiopia is nothing like that. So it's just a small hospital. It's the only one in Nigeria though. It's near Port Harcourt. It's north of that. See if I can find it here. The internet's been like slow or something. This Orawi. This is where Jude Ero's and teaches a polymer class. I don't know if you know him, but he's from this place, apparently. And then you go out this American Cancer Hospital, and there's another one. You go in further. It shows up on this road. Here, this is the place. So they want to put in a solar, but this place has like a LINAC accelerate particles, and you shoot it at the cancer, you like focus in on it. And they have MRI, they have all the equipment, but the power goes out. It's like MRI, it's like an NMR, you have a superconducting magnet, and the superconducting magnet never shuts down. You always have to have power. If you don't have power, basically it's this liquid helium cooled superconducting magnet. When it doesn't have power, it builds up heat because the liquid helium disappears. When it builds up heat, it like blows up, kind of, like, as far as I understand it. So so MRI, like if you go to a hospital for MRI, that thing has to have power all the time, otherwise the game's over. And it costs, I don't know, 20 million, $30 million for that one machine, right? So anyway, so they have one of those. And she's saying like, well, the power goes out all the time. So they have all these diesel generators, like a 350 kilowatt generator. They have 3 diesel generators, a 250, a 350, and 100 kilowatt that they run. And one of them is kind of dedicated to the MRI. The other one's dedicated to the LINAC that they have. Like, it's a pretty small place. These are cars. Anyway, the back, and they're affiliated with like some hospital in Minnesota where it's a US based, it's called the American Cancer Hospital. So it's affiliated with US hospital. But this is the only cancer place in Nigeria, but still, like in Ethiopia, so Nigeria is twice the population, but basically in Ethiopia, there's nothing like that. There's no way we would ever see an MRI in Ethiopia. I mean, you don't, like the medical school in Harar, the city of Harar has a medical school in it, and the medical school has one physician in it. The whole medical school has one physician. Everyone else is being trained word of mouth or something, I guess, like you do not want to get sick there. So anyway, so this is a kind of a reasonably modern hospital, I guess. And the woman seemed really confident. She just seemed kind of desperate to get this solar panel to go in to power this equipment that they want to get. Or they have some of it already. So anyway, it's kind of a weird thing. There's also a group that's already putting in solar panels in Nigeria. So she's been talking with them. They want like $35,000 or something to put it in. So it might be just collect the money and give them money and have this guy put it in, that might be one option for this. The other option is to work with the Solar is Freedom, that Tony Ranieri. I mean, the system they're putting in is kind of like 3 of the systems he puts on a house. So it's not impossible to do. So we could, I'm thinking, I'm gonna set up like a white paper for that and try to see if we can do anything. It's kind of odd though, like you wonder, like if you do this kind of thing, you really want to work somewhere where the people really need it. And not because the government's corrupt and they can't get the money to support it. So you kind of wonder, you wonder like if this is really the place to do this. Another thing is that we can't exactly go there. Like we can go there, maybe I can go there. I wouldn't want to bring students to Nigeria, I don't think. Maybe it would be kind of dangerous. Even though it's a kind of more developed than some of the other countries. Developed doesn't help you though. Like if you have a place where there's rich people and poor people who are in close proximity, so the poor people know that there's a better, like these other people have this stuff and they don't. And then you walk into that situation as a Westerner, you're kind of a target. Like in Johannesburg. So everyone in Johannesburg, if you have money, you have a wall around your place, like a compound almost. And then you have like a key card to get in that opens electric gate and then closes it really fast. Well, people are like pulling up to the electric gate and they just get mugged there and they take the car. Like the BMW's gone and the guy's standing there naked or something, with no key card. So I mean, it's like that's a case where you have like really poor Zimbabwe guys coming down, then other poor people, and then kind of people that are doing pretty well. And it's cheap there. So if you have some money, you can get, you can build a mansion or something if you want. So that's a bad situation to be in, like to drop into that situation isn't great. Nigeria is kind of like that, except there's more poor people, but there are like rich Nigerians floating around. Most of them moved to South Africa, but so I mean a lot of them moved to South Africa, but anyway, so I'm not sure. I haven't been there. If I went there and it looked kind of marginally safe, I'd go, but I'd bring students, but I'm not sure it's safe really, to go there. But anyway, so we could kind of work with these people though. The woman's is really nice, and there definitely seems to be a need. It's the only place to get cancer treatment in Nigeria. So, and they're estimating there's 120,000 people that need this thing. So I don't know. Sounds pretty reasonable to try to get it going, to help them with it. I mean, they already have a thing going, but it's a matter of like helping them with this one aspect of it, like the power part. She said that the grid is on 60% of the time, and then 40% of the time they're using these diesel generators. And the diesel's hard to get, and it's not really a reliable situation. I mean, another thing is that you can't, this kind of equipment needs like a steady, you can't like flick a switch and turn the power off and on for this kind of equipment. Like it's not a switch thing. It has to have constant power, and it has to be clean power. You can't have any noise in the AC. So I'd imagine that's a pretty difficult thing to keep going. She said right now what they do is they like shut down most of the equipment and then turn it on and they run the diesel generator when they need to use it. Which sounds like that's not really viable, That's not how things are done here. Anyway, so on the other hand, they have all this equipment. So it's like you wonder, if that's really like a place that needs it as much as some other place like Ethiopia. But anyway, so that's that like yesterday. So anyway, yeah, so there's some like simple things with solar that you can do. Like there's a couple videos here, but basically this is in the north part of India, in Kashmir, which is also a place, like we were talking about the war in Gaza, but this is also a place where the Indians and the Pakistanis and the rebels in India are fighting for like, so Kashmir wants to be an independent country. It's near Tibet, right? So it's in whatever those mountains are, but it's a mountainous area. It's cold. So in the winter, they don't have any vegetables. So they just, there's a group that goes in and just kind of, all right, they don't give away anything. They make them pay for this polyethylene sheet. And then they kind of tell them how to do this. There's a video here. It's 10, like 3 or 4 minutes, maybe. Let me see. Let me click the wrong thing here. You just so it's like basically simple things can make a big difference. You don't need solar panels or whatever. You can just use this. Himalayas. So they're Buddhist,
Ladakh,
because everything here looks like a Buddhist.
the far-flung
Temples
eastern
and stuff.
corner of
Tibet
Jammu and
Buddhist.
Kashmir. This is India's most
Looks like they're
remote and
Buddhist.
sparsely populated
It was
region.
Buddhist,
It's cut off from the rest of the world by snow
That's
for at
Buddhist.
least 6 months of
That's
the
a
year.
Buddhist prayer.
The high altitude and barren conditions makes growing food
So
difficult,
most of India,
especially vegetables.
so I'm surprised. there's
Until
even a part of
recently,
India
almost
that
all
has-
fresh vegetables were brought in by
has,
road or air, at prices which many Ladakhis couldn't afford.
That she's growing the vegetables in the sort of
Riksik
house.
Chondal lives in the village of Basgo.
Most of the
Like
year,
many women here, she couldn't afford to buy imported
that's the
vegetables
year
in the
it's
market.
cold.
Maintaining a healthy and balanced diet was a constant struggle. But
So
now,
she not only do they do that, but she
of
takes it.
the
she
power
sells it
of the
on market,
sun,
They get money for it. So
as
basically
well as
just
adding flavor to their meals, the
things.
year-round availability
Big improvement in the lifestyle. Yeah.
by a 2-hour journey to market
So
is
it's kind of
well
special
worthwhile.
license things. There's not
Key to the project's success.
actually none. The Lesotho is a little
I
bit
think
like
providing these greenhouses for us is
Lesotho
very
already
useful.
has- They already grow Sure. The other the other is this cash crop idea. So you can think about like survival and also a little bit of money with her selling it on a street corner. But these guys are like growing tomatoes in Kenya. So Kenya's partially like doing okay. They're set up the same way up. So it's like a simple thing, like just a greenhouse can allow you to grow a cash crop.
Control soil pests
That's like drip
tended to
irrigation.
achieve a zigzag pattern on the
The hose
seedbed.
is going through there.
This
drip
reduces the
irrigation. So
vegetable
there's a little
congestion
hole.
of plants within
The
the bed,
hose right next to where
hence
the plant
allowing
is.
good
We actually
aeration
plant it where
within
the
the
hole is.
greenhouse.
And then it just drips water out. onto the
Tomatoes
plant.
need adequate
that's
irrigation
flood
during the
irrigation.
yearly plant
Basically,
growth,
the hose is
fruit
the
set,
drip
and
irrigation.
fruit enlargements.
The problem is that the little holes can clog, so you have to
his
have like a
tomatoes to
filter
ensure
and the
that
water that
there
goes
is
into
no
it to
outbreak
keep the
of
water like
disease.
clean and those tubes that go into the dirt. There's a big problem with drip irrigation is filtering the water. The nice thing is that you can just put the fertilizer right into that water. So it's almost like hydroponics.
The
You just-
tomatoes have started flowering
you
at
don't
this
waste
level.
fertilizer
In the
spent
next
all over
1 week,
place.
the
It only goes
farmer will
exactly
be
where the
expected
plant
to
is, and it
spray
goes right
any
to the-
foliar feed that is fruit
Right, so
and
the
flower
drip
to
irrigation
boost
kind of the way to
the
go. if you want to
flowers
save
that
water.
are setting on this tomato.
It
This
uses
will be
something
able
like
to determine the number of fruit per
5%
truss
of the
on
water
each and
in
every.
flood irrigation. Right, so it's a huge savings. These farmers, like in Ethiopia, the
Okay,
farmers,
where my land
80%
is.
of the money that they spend on farming is water. They pay for water, for pumping the water or buying the water or whatever, because I have diesel pumps that pump the water out. And also the water, they don't have enough water, so the they're draining the aquifers. You know, so anyway, so drip irrigation is a big deal. This kind of hydroponic thing, or greenhouse growing things is a good idea too. So in Ethiopia, though, they grow roses in these greenhouses. Okay, so let's see, where's that map thing? This Z-Way, Lake Z-Way is the Afar River comes from the desert part of Ethiopia. So there's a part of Ethiopia that's I think it was the lowest point in Africa, one of the lowest points on Earth, and it's just like a desolate desert, with all colored rocks and stuff. Tourists go there. It's supposed to be one of the hottest places on Earth. But there's a river that cuts near there called the Wash River, and it goes for like maybe 800 miles through Ethiopia, and it goes through this Lake Ziwe, and then it runs down to some other lakes. Anyway, so this it's kind of a little bit away from Addis, but Addis is a big international airport in Addis, and this Bischoff too is where that plane. I don't know if you remember the Ethiopian airplane, and it was a Boeing, Boeing, whatever the new airplanes are, the plastic airplanes, the new passenger jets, whatever. It was one of the first ones, and it crashed in this Bischoff 2. So Bischoff 2 is also like a kind of a tourist destination, this lake. So they have festivals there and stuff. But anyway, so that's on the way down to Lake Ziwe. Lake Ziwe's got this island. So supposedly the Ark of the Covenant is the thing that held the Moses's something or other, right? Something with the Bible. Anyway, the Ethiopians claim that they have the Ark of the Covenant, and it's held in a church, not near here, but near another lake in the other part of the country. Anyway, so it's still claimed that it's there, but it's only can be seen by the monks. And then they carry it out in kind of a thing to carry it around the town once a year. And then they have a big festival around it. Anyway, when Ethiopia was invaded, that ark was brought to this island. So they have like a monastery in the middle of this island. You can take a boat from Ziwe over to that island. You can go see the monk there and stuff. And I don't know, this interesting stuff there. Giant spiders, one thing. But anyway, so on the side of this over here, this is like a greenhouse. It's a huge greenhouse. Like each of these little lines, see the little teeny lines? That's like your normal size greenhouse. This thing, if you look at this from the lake, it looks like a lake because it just reflects the sunlight. And they just grow roses in this. It's like a rose greenhouse. There's another one kind of down the road from that. Over here, there's another rose greenhouse. So the semis going down this 2-lane road, and they take it to basically, I think Bischoff 2 has an airport in it too, like a military airport. I'm not sure if they take the stuff to there, or if this is like a truck stop, this Mojo. Bischoff 2 is where that plane crashed, and it's like a resort. And then Addis has a big international airport somewhere in this side of the city, someplace. So anyway, so that's also a greenhouse, but it's like economic development kind of, The other, like if you go there, like that's on the way, this is like a resort area. This is a salt lake, that's a freshwater lake. And if you go further, there's like a big lake down here. This is the Rift Valley. It's full of water. This is where like the earliest kind of human ancestors, they found bones from and stuff here. Right? I mean, like Lucy wasn't from here, it was from that part. Lucy was from up here. Like when they found in the 60s, they found Lucy, like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds thing from the Beatles, but basically Lucy was that song was playing when they found the bones. So they named the skeleton Lucy. There's actually the guy from Cleveland is the one that found that, I forget his name. But anyway, so that was all done up here in this kind of dry part. Again, it's like the lowest point in Africa. Anyway, so anyway, this greenhouse is there. That's the point of it. So go off on a thing, but there's pictures of these greenhouses if this thing works. Oh. Clicking yes will enable all hyperlinks. The Beatles song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You guys heard of that? Yeah. It's a song. All right. So the guy was out digging bones in that part of Ethiopia, and he found this skeleton. It's one of the earliest human skeletons. It's actually Afro. Lucy. He named the skeleton Lucy. That song was playing when they found the skeleton. And the skeleton, they had it in Addis in the museum, the National Museum, for a while, and then I think it's been back and forth to Cleveland. The people that discovered it were from Cleveland, from Case. I guess they have anthropology stuff there. So anyway, that's the story. Yeah. All right, copy link. Yeah, there's a lot of stories like about places, and because it's Ethiopia, you don't see like anything about that. This just shows these greenhouses, kind of what. That's not the one I wanted.
15 centimeters from one row to the other, and 2 centimeters
open
from
it
seed
up
to
there.
seed. Alternatively, you can plant or sow the seeds in trays containing
That's not it. Maybe I can't get it. I can see it. Copy link. That should give me the link. If the world is fair. Paste. That should theoretically take me to a greenhouse in Ethiopia. That's not it though. This is that other one. I'm not sure why I can't get that to work, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's just pictures of the greenhouses. You can see the link. Anyway. So greenhouse is one thing you can do with solar, right? It's like a simple thing. This is a place, this app harvest is a place. Are any of these things going to work? Why are you that way? If I do project into it, will it work? You can find app harvest. This is a mega greenhouse company, and where did my Google Earth thing go? Oops, that's it. I tried to get this guy to talk last year, and he wasn't interested, I guess. He never responded. So anyway, this is one of the largest greenhouse companies in the US. It's kind of like they have vertical farming. So it's basically hydroponics, then LED lights. And they're doing this mostly in urban settings like Cincinnati, where they take an old factory, you can layer the plants, you put LED lights and have the hydroponics trickle through and recycle all the water. And it's all enclosed, right? So the only thing that goes in is electricity, and you get like tomatoes and vegetables out of it. So 80 acres is the one in Cincinnati. So they've got a big facility in Hamilton now. They started out in kind of Mill Valley, kind of Vine Street, and then they've expanded significantly since they started there. But so they don't do tours on Vine Street anymore. That's kind of like their R&D site, I guess. But they have quite a few of these like trailers that they can do this whole thing in a trailer, like a semi-trailer, like put LED lights and the plants and hydroponics, all self-enclosed. You just plug it in and you make tomatoes, or else lettuce or whatever you want, right? So basically, it has to be a cash crop. You don't grow like corn in it usually. So anyway, I set up. One of those people from 80 Acres is gonna come talk, and then we can do a tour out there. Like we've already got it scheduled sometime. I think it's end of October, end of this month maybe, in Hamilton, so it should be pretty interesting. Like that's a big facility, but they've expanded to the south and to the East Coast and West Coast, so they're the second largest like indoor farming place in the US. And then it's also like the Netherlands is big in this, and a couple other, like England has quite a few of this stuff. So anyway, App Harvest is another contender for that. And they're in Kentucky, they're outside. So this area, like Cincinnati is good, this region, because you can reach within 1 day truck, you can reach something like 85 to 90% of the US population from Cincinnati, right? So it turns out that like we're in the ideal location for if you want to eat stuff, pick it that day and eat it that day. So that's why P&G is here. That's why like a lot of stuff is here, basically. A lot of these kind of agricultural things. And App Harvest, it's the same deal. Like they're just south in like Lexington. So they're kind of in in the same region, but they aren't doing exactly indoor farming. They're doing, I don't see, they have a bunch of sites down there. This is not the site I'm looking for. Because there's nothing here, right? What they have is gigantic greenhouses. So they don't use LED lights. They use, does this show? They use like, they use here, this shows here kind of, right? So they use the sunlight to come through the roof and they grow it like a greenhouse, except it's hydroponics inside. Right, this is one of their facilities. But these places are all like growing like crazy. They're all kind of startup company, you know, kind of big money going in. So the guy that runs that Harvest is like a flim flam kind of startup company person. There's a video of him somewhere in here. I don't know, there's a video of him talking about his whatever. You can see it's a startup kind of flim flam thing in a sense, but they do have a big footprint in this field. But I haven't seen any app harvest stuff in the Kroger's. But 80 acres, if you go to the vegetable section, you know, like the prepackaged salads and stuff, like half of it's 80 acres now. So it's all grown with this LED light stuff. These guys aren't using LED light. I think they use sometimes LED light, like a mixture of natural and LED, maybe to save energy or something, but it's a hydroponic kind of setup they're doing. Anyway, so that kind of thing could be done in Ethiopia or wherever too, you know. It's not just a US thing. So it's possible to kind of morph that idea. The thing about this is that it's really something that you would use in an urban setting. If you wanted to provide, like, they call it 80 acres because 1 acre of kind of factory space turns into 80 acres of farm space. Like you can produce 80 acres worth of food in 1 acre because of the hydroponics and the LED lights tuned to the plants. And then, so you can get, and there's no winter inside the building like a warehouse. It's basically they produce all year round too. So it's 1 acre to 80 acres, plus you get 3 growing seasons or 4 growing seasons instead of 1. So it's really like 320 whatever acre, you know, like they're actually amplifying a huge amount, like what you can produce. And they don't use any soil, and everything is recycled. So there's no waste stream from it. Everything's just cycled through the system. Partly because they'll tell you like they don't want to have like insects or something get into it because everything's closed. So everything's recycled. So they don't want to have like fungus or mushrooms or something growing in their place. So they have to purify everything that goes through, you know. So anyway, there's no pesticide. There's no chemicals that go into it other than like basically fertilizer chemicals, you know.
I know the planting and harvesting on a large scale farm is usually pretty time intensive. Is
Uh-huh.
that still a factor when you have these factory farms?
They have robots that harvest it. This is like, you can buy this in Kroger. It's like
So
part
it's
of the,
like fully automated?
yeah. It's robot harvested and everything is grown like using LED lights.
I hear it's really good, like from that ones like specifically against ADA.
Yeah. Yeah, it tastes better. And it's consistent. It's always exactly the same because it's made under exactly the same conditions. So anyway, there's a chemical engineer that works with them, but she's kind of a business. That's what I mean. Like she's a business person, and you can tell these startup business people have a certain kind of approach to life. You'll see like when she comes in that it's like boom, 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 and like, you know what I mean? So it isn't. So it's not a math intensive thing. It's more like push the thing along and like see where it's going. So I think she worked in chemical engineering, like process management or something before, maybe in the food industry. And then she went in to be like their manager or some part of managing that company. But the 80 acres was founded by P&G guys, like two P&G guys and one kind of business person. I think is kind of how they formed. So none of them had any experience. The business guy had experience in food production, but the P&G guys were like soap people or something. Like they never had anything to do with food. They just had because this wasn't their idea. They just are gonna like develop it, you know. So I mean, it's kind of like anybody can do this. And also the whole thing is it's agriculture, but if you look at it, it's a chemical plant, you know, it's got pumps and you got these chemicals and you're like weighing out a certain amount of this and that, and you're piping it through and then out comes some kind of product. So it's just a chemical reaction. I mean, growing the food is basically a plant does it, but I mean, in the end, it looks an awful lot like chemical engineering, like more than it does agriculture, like where you go out with a plow or something. You know? And the product has a shelf life and things like that, but I guess there's some chemical products that would be similar to that. It seems like an area that's pretty ripe for chemical engineering, you know, to get into. Yeah, ripe's also a pun. Anyway, so there's that business. It's like simple, just give someone plastic and they can like change their life with it, you know, and some concrete to build this structure. Then there's like kind of industrial scale roses production for export to Europe. And there's this thing that hasn't hit Africa at all. But it could, especially if these cities are growing so fast, like, you know, if Dar es Salaam goes to 65 million people and like Lagos goes to like whatever, 80 million, then this kind of greenhouse, this kind of indoor farming to get vegetables, you know, that could be pretty viable there, you know, especially where you have transportation problems. So you have a hard time shipping things into the city. You just grow it right where you eat it. In fact, 80 acres has these semis, like you can just pull the semi up to the places making tomato sauce, just grow the tomatoes in their parking lot, just like put it right into the factory to make whatever you, or next to a restaurant or whatever, right? So, so anyway, there's a lot of potential with that. Then there's this business about collecting dew, right? So, or condensing water, purifying, desalinization, purifying water, just collecting dew in the desert. So there's quite a few people doing this stuff. It's also solar. So it involves solar evaporation and then condensation, right? So there's a lot of people have been looking at that. This video, like people have been studying it. And then the Saudis have even like then there's like survivalist people that are looking at like dew collection. You know, this guy's out in the desert. What are you going to do? So you take whatever water's there underground, you put plastic over it, and you can kind of dew will make it fill up your glass with clean water. It's not exactly that viable. I think that this isn't necessarily really what people say it is. Then people have taken that idea, that kind of idea, like the water evaporates, then so it's the sun comes down, you paint it black on the bottom, it gets hot, and the water evaporates, and then it's cooler on this because it's clear, right? So it condenses on the colder surface. Then somehow you have it either drain at the edges or have it like U-shaped, so it drops into the middle, and you have the cup in the middle, like in this guy's thing. So it doesn't make that much water, you know. I mean, basically you can make some that way, but it's not a huge amount. You can upscale that thing to like the chemical engineers get their hands on it, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you have seawater coming in, it's cold. You run that through a chiller or a heat transfer unit, and then you have some kind of, you could have an external source for the heat to heat the water. So you just have parabolic collectors and water circulating to heat it, condense onto the thing, you cold seawater, and then basically you end up with brine at the bottom, and somehow you dump that somewhere. Or maybe you could use the brine and get lithium or something like that. But anyway, so you can see, like, you could possibly engineer this just like you do a distillation column. In fact, some of these things can look just like a distillation column. Like you just have multiple stages. You have some kind of heating at the bottom, just fill up clean water at some point, and then salt water goes in the top. It's like so there's a company in Australia that's manufacturing these things. You can buy this, like a clean water, portable clean water machine. And then Saudi Arabia's got this big desalinization plant based on that idea. They just run the seawater through this system and you can get fresh water out of it. So, and then people have talked about this, like people have tried to apply this in Africa to no success, I think, like as far as like using this dew collection or just condensing water. People have built all kinds of structures, but it doesn't seem like this is really has been any viable answer to problems. This guy, I had this guy talk to the class. I didn't call him this year, but this Seawater Greenhouse is an NGO that's been doing this thing. So they set up near the ocean. They've done this in Morocco, and not in, they've done it in Morocco, and they've also done it in Somalia, in Somaliland. And I think they've done it in one other place in Africa. The guy's British, so I had him actually talk to the class. I'm not sure how valuable it is. I don't know. I could get him again if you guys are interested. Basically, they pump seawater in, they pour it into a sponge. And near the ocean, if it's a dry place, there's a constant wind coming from one direction. So you can have that flow through the sponge. It makes humid air, you can grow plants. And then at the other end, you condense the water and get fresh water out of it. So you have like a plant growing area, then you have like a water collection area. And then you kind of end up with, the filters collect the salt. So there's not, these filters have to be like changed. So they're kind of a sponge. He showed the sponges, he showed how that works, but basically it's viable. They built these things. Like he shows this I think is in Somaliland. Oh, they did this in Australia too. They built a huge facility for this in Australia. This might be Australia. So this is like before, like when they first set it up, and this is how lush it got, just with seawater evaporating to make this greenery here. I mean, this is the thing this is what they built, I think, in Australia. This kind of setup where they're growing like fruit trees. I think he's got solar panels here or something, and it's just basically flowing. There's a wind that blows in a certain direction. They pump the seawater up, then they can get, you can see there's quite a bit difference between this fruit grove and what's around there. It's just desert. So
did you say what they do with the filters when they're fully used up?
yeah, they throw them away, I think. I think
Like reclamation process to get rid of the salt.
I think they throw them away. I think that I don't remember exactly. See, this is their website, right? Seawater Greenhouse. Let me just see if I can type that in. I could get him to talk again. He's pretty friendly. Oh, this is probably going to turn green here. Oh yeah, you spool your mouse and become. This is Somaliland. This is so Somalia, the tip near Djibouti at the top near the Red Sea, declared itself an independent country, and no one's recognized it. But they operate. I think they have their own currency, everything. Right. So anyway, so that's supposed to be like a safe place to visit. Like you can go there. Somalia, you just get kidnapped and killed if you go there. I mean, I think it's a matter of like 2 minutes on the ground, and that's it. Game over. You wake up in some kind of a Muslim whatever somewhere. You have a new wife, and like you're gonna settle there. Then they're emailing your parents or whatever to get $100,000 that they think they have. But so anyway, Somaliland though you can visit, and they're happy to have you. And it isn't, you're not going to get kidnapped kind of thing. But anyway, so they're working in Somaliland. It's just kind of a strange place, except that it's got the ocean and it's got the desert. And kind of it might make sense, but yeah. So anyway, they set this up there to kind of test worst possible conditions or something, I think. Let's see. So is this all you can do on this webpage? Oh, no. Here. Projects, news, contacts. It's just a British guy. I think there's like an engineer at a university in UK, and then a guy in London. And the guy in London is like a DAP guy. He's kind of a design person. And he's the one that talked. It's interesting. I mean, they feed the seawater through this thing. I forget what it's made out of. They just show videos in here. The DAP guy made all this stuff. I mean, it's a simple idea. It's nothing, it isn't something that people didn't think of before, I guess, but maybe they have new projects now.
That they got sea salt, yeah.
Oh, did it say that?
Like, diesel bottles.
Oh, okay, that's what the bottles were? Okay. I think this might be the engineer, the guy that I talked to, that came to talk to the class. See, this guy's at a university, right? Yeah, I can get them to talk again, you know, it was interesting. I think it's pretty good. I'll just email him, he probably would do it. Yeah, I don't see the sea salt here. Oh yeah, here. Okay, that's the sea salt on it. All right, too late. They got big ideas. You need to have a you need to have water. You need to have ocean near you. So I talked to him about doing. There's a place in Ethiopia where they have a lake. So there's a bunch of lakes that are drying up, but there's one lake because the rain pattern has changed. That's flooding. You know, in fact, they've had to move the roads and the railroad. They had to relocate away from the water's edge because the lakes are flooding. So anyway, so let me see what they get going here. Shrink this down. That didn't help. Colorado River. Well, that's pretty interesting. They didn't have this last year. Cairo, Egypt, they didn't have that either. Maybe they're, I mean, this is a Somaliland thing. Looks like they have plenty of water. Oman. So Oman's right next to Yemen, you know, so it's like Yemen's this war ravaged, terrible place. Then Oman's next over, and that's where you can go on these Arab vacations into the desert, you know, where you ride camels out in the stars and everything, and they make a campfire, and the beaches are supposed to be really, so it's like a resort for Europeans, Oman, you know. Oman also, the Sultanate of Oman was what colonized the entire coast of northern coast of East Africa. Like Zanzibar was a slave trading capital for them. There's various places where they got slaves from, I guess. So Oman's got a sordid history in the 1700s, 1800s. But now it's like it's a resort area. So it's kind of weird that he's doing it there. And they have plenty of money for it. We had some students from Oman too, like chemical engineering students. I think they have some kind of petrochemical there. I don't think they have oil though, but maybe they have oil. Muscat, Oman. Oh, and Australia is the biggest thing that they built that I knew of. So this is a huge facility in Australia. And then the Somaliland was like a trial thing. Cairo, Egypt must be pretty big, and I didn't heard about this Salton Sea thing. Salton Sea's supposedly drying out, I guess. It's near the Colorado River, like when it goes, it's not in the Colorado River, but it's near it. And it's a lake that was man-made, you know. And then irrigation or something, I think. And then Southern California, like far Southern California, right on the Mexico border. So anyway, it's drying out. They're having problems there. What are they doing there? So like that's the Colorado River. This was man-made, and then it's drying out. So the dust and stuff from that apparently is really bad. Like they have dust storms from this, and then kind of everyone living near it is getting impacted by that. Water import tunnels. I think those already exist. It's a cellulose evaporator plant. That's what they use. So, anyway, so yeah, we're kind of out of time, I guess. But so I'll see if I get this guy. I'll try to get this guy again. Sounds like there's some appeal in this. Is that right? Or all right, I'll see what he can do. And then this guy from the power plant supposedly will come on Thursday. But I'll let you know. I'll send an email out to let you know if he's coming or not. He's supposed to call me actually at 3:05. So.